All right, what's up, everyone? Alex Boylan here, co-founder of Dream Jobbing. Super excited to be here with my boy Shane Farley. If there's anyone who knows talk shows, it's this guy right here. His career has been dedicated to this craft. I mean, he's worked on everything from the Ricky Lake Show, Rosie O'Donnell Show, Wayne Brady Show, Rachel Ray Show, and right now, Tyra Banks Show, and right now he's the executive producer of the Steve Harvey Show. So I appreciate you doing 5 Questions With.
Listen, I'm excited about this. And I like to do all my interviews by piano so people think that I play it.
Yeah, he's graciously brought us into his apartment here for this. All right, well, thank you for this. So, Shane, first question. Obviously, you've spent 20 plus years in this business in talk shows. Where did it all begin? Where were you like, talk shows are awesome. That's my passion. That's what I want to go for in life.
Because as a kid, I would watch the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I loved it. I watched it so much that I would know some of the story. Like I would remember the stories that celebrities would come on and tell. And I feel like back then it just wasn't celebrities coming on to promote something. Oftentimes it was just celebrities that
having fun.
Yeah, they were just sitting with Johnny and having a good time. And so I would watch that, and it was probably way past when I should have been going to sleep for school. But like I had a little black and white television in my bedroom, and I would watch it, and then Letterman would come on after that. And then at some point, Arsenio came on. It came into the mix, and then I would like sort of turn over and watch Arsenio. But at one point, Letterman is sitting at his desk, and he's in the middle of his monologue, and I don't know, something went wrong, and he calls over to his executive producer, and I didn't realize it was his executive producer. It was just a guy named Morty who had like long hair, and I was like, what's that guy's job?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of cool, because I knew I didn't want to be the guy at the desk. I kind of wanted to be the guy at the podium off to the side.
Right.
And then it was years later that I actually I got to meet Morty. I interviewed with him. I told him that story, and then he hired me. Yeah. How's he not going to hire me?
That's
I told him
awesome.
that I try to model my career after his. How do you not get the job after that?
Oh, that's so awesome.
And I'm still friends with him. I was just emailing him the other day. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So, second question: what's the best part of working a talk show?
Well, the type of talk shows that I do are, we'll do 175 a season. And there's
175 episodes.
It's
a lot of content.
And then there's 7 segments in a show. So we have so many guests. We tell so many stories. We have just so much going on. Is that you get to learn a lot, and your producers go out and they bring you these stories and they pitch them, and then you kind of choose what you want to. But you learn so much about what's happening in this world by doing a show like this, because you're just putting out all of this material.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's like you go to a party and you're up. Someone's like, "Hey, did you see?" It's like, "Yeah, you did. You saw it. You saw it. You may have even met the person involved in it." Like, it's like there's that much stuff happening.
That's unbelievable. So the variety and
It's
the
just
education of it all, huh?
Absolutely. I mean,
That's
from
good.
food segments to health segments to just feel good stories to actors coming on to talk about what they do, little kids. It's just it's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. So what is there a downside? What's the worst part about working on a talk show?
Well, it's, on the flip side, it's 175 episodes and it's 7 segments. So there's so much going on. Is that when you're in season for a show, which typically the shows that I do, you're on the air from September to May, and then they go into reruns in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much. Is that's what your life is. You're working late, and you're often working weekends. And it's just that. So people are like, "Hey, why don't we meet for dinner?" And you're like, "Unless you're gonna have dinner in my office, we're just not gonna meet. It's not gonna happen." Now the cool part is that you get like pretty good hiatuses, and then you can kind of reconnect with friends who feel like you've left them. but while you're in the season, and then when you do get home, so if you're married, your spouse is just looking at you like you bring nothing to the table because you're so tired. But that's probably the downside.
Yeah, just the amount of time. So I think a lot of, also I want to talk about, because there's how many people are under you? Like 100 people, 150 on staff.
Yeah.
So many people,
Between
right?
staff and
So many different jobs. What are the different jobs available out there on a talk show? Because I think sometimes you just think like executive producer, producers, but there's so many, right?
That's a really good question, because I don't think people realize that there are departments that if you're interested in talk shows, but you're like, I don't want to produce, like that's just not my thing. But you're interested in finance. There's our show has an accounting department, because people have to get paid that come on the show, and we're paying for things. So there's always an accounting department. I mean, there's makeup, there's hair, there's wardrobe, There are travel people, like people who are fascinated with travel, and just don't want to produce, or for whatever reason. It's like, I mean, our guests have to get in somehow, right? So there's someone that's booking all the travel and it is letting us know like when people should fly and not fly.
So a lot.
Yeah, just a lot. There's the coordination team, like the production management, who handle just like, as a producer, you might say, hey, I have an elephant that's going to be part of this segment. Well, then someone's got to like coordinate how that all happens. Producer just sort of like just moves on. But there's somebody that's like, shit, I got an elephant I have to deal with. How are we going to get it in? So that's a whole nother side of it.
Right, that's really awesome. So let's think for either a younger kid out there that's trying to break in the business, or maybe someone trying to make a change in their career. What's the best advice you can give? Say someone, I want to go work on the Steve Harvey Show. Yeah. How does someone open those doors? What's a way to like hack into that business? Whether it's, I know a lot of times we talk about internships, but let's say like, sometimes it feels like this world that like, how do I even get into this? Yeah. What would your advice be on something like that?
That's a good question. So like if you're watching this and you're through with school and you've done no internships and you have no family that knows anybody, it's not like it's done for you. You still have a shot. I think it's just when you want something, you'll figure out a way. So for instance, I would for Steve Harvey, it's just I would come to a show and then I would say to the audience person, who is like, I would look to see who looked like they were calling the shots, and I'd be like, can I meet that person? And of course that audience person would come over and probably say something to me, and if someone was like they needed to meet me, like especially a young person, I would be like, of course. Yeah. And then I probably would be so impressed by that. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. So when I was in New York, I was working on a show for VH1, a couple shows, and there was I got an email or a phone call, I can't remember. A young lady reached out to me and she was like, I'm in the building and I followed your career and I want to meet you. What am I going to say? No, you're in the building. I don't know how you got in the building. It was like security. Somehow she got in the building. But, she was taking a meeting with another company. That was MTV or something. So, of course, I let her come in. We sat down and we talked. And by the end of that meeting, I was so blown away by, like, how hard she worked to get to meet with. Because I can't imagine I was the only person that she was like, I need to meet you. She probably picked the different people at different companies within that building, said that, and probably got like half a dozen meetings. I'm still friends with her to this day. She'll call me if she's got to make a decision about a certain job. I put her on Steve Harvey as a guest. She's one of those people that like I'm like rooting for her. Yeah. And it's just because she had, she reminded me a little bit of myself, because I knew that I had to find a job. It wasn't like, oh, I go to school and then maybe someone's going to find, who's going to find me? Right. I lived in New Jersey. No one's looking for me. Right. Yeah. So for me, it was like, I just kept putting stuff out. And then the Joan Rivers show called me and was just like, do you want an internship? And I was like, no, I graduated. I want a job. So they brought me in and I ended up walking away. I had a job at the Joan Rivers show even before I graduated. Because I wanted it so bad.
I think it's so good, especially for the students out there, to hear this, like to know both ways. I mean, for myself, it's best for Shane, but Shane is one of the top. He is the executive producer at Steve Harvey Show. You've run these massive shows, but you didn't come from connections. No. You didn't come from so you worked your way to where you are in your career. So it's possible for anyone out there.
And the thing is, it's like there's certain things that ring out to me. If you're from New Jersey, somehow I look at that. If you've worked in like the food service business, like say you have nothing on your resume, but you were like a waiter or like you were serving at Cinnabon. Right? Yeah. I just think that if you've had that on your career, anywhere in your life as in your job history, I'm impressed by that, because you've dealt with shitty people. Right? Yeah. And so I look for that, but I also look for people who just they don't know anybody and they just really, really want it. Because then it's like, because that reminds me of me and I want to help out people. So you tend to help out people that are similar to you. Yeah. So it's like, if you're from Jersey, if you've worked in some sort of food thing, then I mean, you're not going to get the job just because
Right.
of that, but you'll get in the room probably.
But it's an awesome tip because it's like do your research, do your homework of who you're meeting with, and find something in common with them.
That's a great,
Right,
good
exactly.
point.
And so, final question:
Yeah.
when let's say someone's in the room with you, they got the interview because you still right, you interview you see every single person that's hired on the show.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So like,
I mean, I don't hire like the accountants.
right, but
Yeah.
but like anyone, right? Even like the lower PAs and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
you're still gonna meet with them, right?
Yeah.
So when someone's in that room with you, what are you looking for before you say yes or no?
You need to have watched the show. Like I asked somebody, I was like, what did you think of the show? And they were like pausing for so long that I was like, have you seen the show? And like now a lot of people, some people don't have televisions in their home.
Yeah.
So when they say I've seen clips, that to me is like, well, you want to work here, right? It's like just seeing clips isn't you have to watch the whole show so you can see how it is.
We're in Santa Monica here, and we're right off of Wilshire Boulevard. So all right.
Why don't you just give my exact address?
Sorry, dude.
No, so the thought is that you gotta watch the full show so you know the flow of it, and you can tell whether or not somebody wants the job. Like they gotta be asking you questions. It's not just you're asking them questions. They have to ask you questions and show real interest. I had a young lady one time come to me, and it was a really cool job, and she was right out of school, and she was like, I'm not sure how to figure out this bus schedule so I could be here on time. Is there a job where I could come in later? Okay, don't ever say that. Is there a job I could come in later?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, so she
apparently a bank has been robbed right near our apartment. They probably can't even hear it on this.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't just keep coming up with you have to just show that you're passionate about that job. Even if that job is a stepping stone to something bigger that you really want, it's like you gotta like make the person feel as if they have, and that you're gonna come in, you're gonna kill it.
Yeah, passion. Show your passion. Shane, finally, I want to say, talk about how important relationships are in this business. Shane Farley, after I won the Amazing Race Season 2, Shane produced me on the Rosie O'Donnell Show.
Right.
And that was almost 18 years ago.
Wow.
And even last year, Shane had hired me to do some work. And so it's been a long journey getting to
been a
know
long
each
time.
other.
Yeah.
And it just shows like, one little small thing can turn into a long relationship in Austin's business. So thanks for doing 5 questions with.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play the
Appreciate it.
piano.
Yeah, we'll just keep that thing running. All right, cheers, guys.